Hello everyone and welcome back to Backlot Banter. We are here today to talk about everyone's favorite topic. Tucker, say it with me. Some box office ballyhoo. That's right. And this ballyhoo pertains specifically to the month of November 2023. And we're here to talk about all the plentiful movies that were released here.
There were a lot of them.
And how good they did. There's a variety of, overperformers, underperformers, and everything in between. But before we get into that, I'd like to remind you, dear viewer, to subscribe to Backlot Banter if you like more videos like these and movie reviews and so on and so forth. There's also, Tucker, did you know there's the Discord link?
Yeah, I made it.
You made the Discord link?
I joined
I'm talking
myself.
to the creator of the Discord link.
That's me. Hello, everyone.
Anyway, that link is in the description. There you can talk about movies, you can talk about video games, you can talk about, I don't know, what else we have in there. Music.
I think there is. I have that one muted, though.
Yeah,
so
that's
I
fair.
Can't see it.
Exercising.
There is one of those channels. Yeah.
Any variety of topics you can talk about in there with us, your favorite hosts on YouTube.com. Tucker, shall we jump into the month of November 2023? We're wrapping out the year.
I can't wait, honestly. This has been such a fun month to track ups and downs and underperformers and overperformers and weird shit and just it's kind of the whole package, to be 100% honest. And I also think I would have to do a little bit of checking, but I think this might be the most amount of individual slides we've had. I think there are 10 movies we're covering this month.
There's a lot of movies to get through, so let's jump right in and start where we always do, with the top 10 domestic openings of the month.
Yes.
So, after much deliberation, Tucker, we were going a little bit back and forth. We actually had a different top 5 prediction, which we'll get to in due time.
Yeah.
But taking a look at what we have now, the Marvels did end up coming out on top.
Yeah, it's tweaked.
It's squeaked by. Yeah, for sure.
It obviously, and this is no surprise to anyone, should have been bigger.
Yep.
Should have been bigger. Should have been easily number one. Instead, it was by technicality number one. I mean, frankly, like a $2 million difference out of 45 is it's just like it could have gone either way.
It really could have gone either way. We're also counting.
Frankly, if we hadn't seen the Marvels opening week,
we did give the Marvels $2 million. we did do that,
and that's the BLB bank right there.
That's all the money that we get from advertising on this.
Yeah.
Anyway, Tucker, we are counting. This is worth noting. We are counting the Thanksgiving 5-day openings for films that opened on November 22nd, for example.
Though, to be clear, the Marvels would still be number one because the Marvels didn't open 5-day. Everything else got a bump up from the 5-day.
Yes. That's just the benefit
so that would
of
have been
opening
Napoleon
on a
and Wish and Trolls? No, just Napoleon and Wish.
Yep.
That would have gotten that bump.
So, number 2, very close second here with The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes with $44 million. Ridley Scott's Napoleon, bringing it out. That was a Thanksgiving release.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. With 32.7.
Yeah.
Wish with a very, very close fourth there with 31.
Less than $1 million. Again, basically a technicality at that point. But also, again, maybe that should have been number one, honestly.
Yeah. And Trolls right in the hunt there with $30 million. So really close 3, 4, 5 there.
Yeah.
And
actually, a really close 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
That's
frankly.
True. Yeah,
frankly.
A factor of 16 million separating all
pretty
of those.
Tight.
6 through 10, Thanksgiving. Radical, which is a film that I was not familiar with, but it's a Eugenio Derbez film.
Yeah.
Next Goal Wins, Taika Waititi's Next Goal Wins. Journey to Bethlehem, one of those one of those crazy religion movies.
Oh yeah.
And Tiger 3, one of those.
Who could be about?
I wonder who it could be about too. And Tiger 3, one of those
These
crazy action
only have
movies.
one guy they make movies about.
Yeah.
Come up with something original for once.
Yeah. Change up. We need some spin-off characters. We need something interesting there. But yeah, honestly, it's a pretty solid top 10. I'd say.
Yeah. I mean, just because there's a lot of movies coming out,
exactly.
And there are a couple of movies on here that we'll be talking about that did not show up in this top 10 because we are also, although we were doing a little bit last month, we were really getting into limited release, Oscar baity, award season-y movies are starting to come out and aren't cracking into biggest openings because they're opening in limited release. But we'll still be talking about them because we like those movies.
We do like those
and it's very interesting to see the disparity between the big blockbuster stuff that actually puts butts in seats and the highly acclaimed critic movies that frankly don't put any butts in seats.
They don't put any butts in seats, but for scale, maybe do quite well for themselves or maybe don't. We'll see. So yes, Tucker. Here's our predictions for the top 5.
Tanner?
Yeah.
Always go with your gut. I mean, sometimes your gut is really wrong.
Sometimes
but
it is very wrong.
This time, you went correctly by thinking that the Marvels would be number one. And of course, again, kind of by technicality.
Let me pull up those numbers of what I said last time.
Yeah.
Let me pull those up.
Where I thought that Wish would overperform. Well, actually, I just thought it would perform normally, like a big budget, Disney animated movie.
Less like a Strange World and more like maybe like a Zootopia or something.
Or Frozen or something, which is the direct correlation that I made in one of our most popular videos. Let me straighten my tie. Actually, the only solo video on our new channel, I believe. It was just me talking about Wish. Yeah. And that video got a lot of views, me thinking that Wish could make $1 billion, but only under the pretense that, as we'll get to later, directed and produced and songs written by the people that did Frozen. This is not Frozen.
No.
And it was not number one like I thought it would be. Mm-hmm.
It was number 4.
I pressed down instead of up. Yeah, it was number 4.
Yeah.
But you did a little bit better. Because not only did you have the Marvels at number 1, you also had Napoleon on there, where I was sick enough in the head to think that Thanksgiving would open higher than Napoleon.
Yeah.
I don't know what's up with me, Sometimes I just say things.
So the numbers that I threw out there were the Marvels, 52 million. So off by, what is that? 6 million?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not too bad.
Then I had Wish at number 2, obviously, and I said that would open to 50. It made 31.
Yeah, that's pretty off.
Hunger Games, Thug Tobosis, excuse me. I said it would make 48, made 44.
Yeah, that's close.
I Trolls Band Together on there. I said 28, it made 30. And Napoleon,
that's very close.
I said 25, and it made 32.
Okay, I mean you were in relatively the ballpark for all of these, and you even undercut the Marvels a little bit, or like you thought that it wouldn't be that big.
Yeah.
Which it should have been again.
Yeah.
But you still did better. So Tanner. Handshake. Handshake for you.
Thanks, sir.
Pat on the back. Rub your tummy. Pat your head.
Thank you.
You get all the awards.
I'll be expecting a treat later, Tucker. Okay. Tucker, I always love doing this slide too.
Yeah.
The cinema score comparison.
Which slides do you not like?
I'll let you know when we get to them. Okay. I'll let you know. The cinema score comparisons.
Yeah.
It's always interesting to see what the cinema score poll audiences gave these films walking out and how they sort of compare to what we think of them.
Yeah.
So the A's this month, not this year. Trolls Band Together.
A movie we hated and a movie we didn't see.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Wish.
Yeah.
So, hey,
how often do family animated films get below an A? Frankly.
I don't know. I think they're just easy to love. It's gonna be a lot of parents going and it's like, I don't know. I wasn't paying attention. I was having existential dread about bills and taxes and stuff.
Oh, the old parent thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, Trolls Band Together with by far the highest. I mean, A is a great cinema
Think
score.
they pull the kids too when they walk out of there?
No, there's no way, right?
They might.
No, they can't, can they? Those fuckers just slobbering.
They don't even understand a grading scale. They just get
true.
They just get the gold sticker on their paper on their spelling tests.
But also, if you'll see, basically everything else got a B.
Yeah.
In the range of B, we covered the gamut. There were B pluses, Bs, and B minuses. With Napoleon and Thanksgiving sitting down there at the lowest with B minus. Below films that were frankly received worse, like Next Goal Wins and Wish and the Marvels. Those are much more controversial and lower received films, but in terms of the people walking out of the theater, they thought they were marginally better.
Interesting,
But yeah, it's interesting to see Next Goal Wins above something like Thanksgiving, but that you have to consider. Horror movies get really low cinema scores.
Yeah.
People are stupid, I guess. They don't recognize quality where they see it, but they also kind of do, because we also have the Rotten Tomato meter down here.
Yes.
The thermometer.
Yep.
Thermometer, where, again, we also cross the gamut. Next Goal Wins way down there at a 10, 20, 30, 40%, 40-something percent. Tiger 3 also very low.
Yeah.
Now, Tiger 3 does not have a cinema score, and neither does the Holdovers or Priscilla, which you'll notice are very high up this list.
Yeah.
The Holdovers at over a 90% and Priscilla at over an 80%, but also, Eli Roth, you did it. You made a horror movie that people really like.
Thanksgiving,
tied with Priscilla, I think is so much fun.
That's good.
And then look at that clump, Tanner. Look at that clump.
Is that clump right
around the 60%?
Right at the bridge of becoming fresh.
Yeah.
Right at the bridge.
Yeah. I actually think all are fresh.
Okay.
They might be like...
Oh, sure. I see. Yeah, we're crossing into the red... Because I remember...
we didn't check on that.
Stuff like Wish and Thug Tobosis were like, as more reviews came in, they were, above 60 or below 60.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Well, they're... I don't know. It's interesting, how they just straddled that line a little bit. And, as you said, Tucker, massive clump right up there.
Massive clump. I think it's just weird that we had that many movies released very close to one another that all were received about the same, kind of middlingly.
Yeah.
But let's start off in a good place. A very healthy place in terms of critical reception, which is Sofia Coppola's Priscilla.
Yeah.
This movie is one of the first that we're talking about this season of this is not meant to make money.
No,
Sofia
yes.
Coppola made this because she wanted to make this movie. She thought it would be an important story to tell, and she was hoping for it. And we will see getting some awards buzz.
Mm-hmm.
But on a $20 million budget, this movie has made $20 million.
Hey.
And so,
So
obviously...
it's actually made $20,050,000. Sounds like $50,000 in the pocket.
Money in the pocket, baby.
Yeah. So this is interesting. You talk about the thing of, you mentioned the budget. You talk about how it's not specifically meant to make money, perhaps. I remember seeing stories from Sofia Coppola about how she had trouble, sort of getting this movie funded, A, and B, sort of how the budget was sort of running out and how she needed to she was trying to come up with ways to raise money,
which is really sad because
Yeah.
she's a well-respected filmmaker making a biopic film.
Yeah.
Those are the kind of movies that people have made forever, but not even she can get that kind of money.
Yeah.
And of course, we've also seen with directors like Ridley Scott and Martin Scorsese having to resort to being produced by streaming companies.
Yep.
And of course, they have a little bit more negotiating power, so they can be like, fuck you, my shit's going to theaters. But not even the biggest filmmakers can get their budgets.
Maybe when Sofia Coppola's 80, she can have that kind of sway.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Anyway, so this film premiered at the Venice Film Festival in October. Kaylee Spaney also won the Best Actress award there, if we want to, sort of dip our toes into some award speak as well. It was actually interesting because I remember watching this happen and seeing this article come out in real time of the wide release getting massively bumped. Yeah. Mostly because, obviously Dune Part 2 moved from this date, this November 3rd date, and The Marvels was the next weekend. So we kind of had a hole right here on November 3rd.
Yeah.
And A24 took advantage of that. They massively bolstered the wide release of this, added over 1,000 theaters for that wide release on November 3rd, excuse me. And, I mean, it made $5 million that weekend.
Yeah.
It's nothing to sneeze at.
For a limited movie, that's a totally fine opening weekend. Of course, it had been playing a little bit before in limited release, but...
in 4 theaters or something like that.
I mean, this is a good scenario for a awards-baiting, not meant to make money movie to be in, is crossing that production budget threshold. We don't really know how much marketing went into this. I can't imagine it was too high. Yeah. But also...
I think there's only the one trailer, too. That we always saw. Yeah.
Oh, there's also a teaser, I believe. Or is that the same thing?
That's what I was talking about, yeah.
But yeah, this is also a film that sticks around because... Not in theaters necessarily, though I think it will probably have a little bit of resurgence around the award season time, but just because people continue to find these movies on streaming, and in those ways usually pay for them, like they do PVOD for a movie like this. So I think it'll end up being profitable for A24, but not massively so. This is just a comfortable success.
Sure. It is Sofia Coppola's second highest grossing film. Tuck, you want to take a stab at what her highest grossing film is?
Well, people are really into Marie Antoinette.
No, it was not Marie Antoinette.
Are they really into the Virgin Suicides?
No, you gotta delve a little bit farther back in her filmography.
Oh, Lost in Translation.
Lost in Translation.
Yeah.
Bill Murray, Scarlett Johansson made $120 million globally.
Jesus Christ, that's crazy.
Yeah. So, and of course, the big thing that everyone was talking about with Priscilla, I think, was the sort of controversy and the subsequent sort of condemnation it got from the Elvis estate and Lisa Marie Presley, who apparently contacted Sofia Coppola over this, quote, vengeful and contemptuous script about how it portrayed her father. She was obviously not a big fan of his portrayal in this film.
Yeah. I guess I would be mad too if my dad was made out to be an asshole, but if my dad was an asshole, maybe I want that to be reflected.
I feel like I would also recognize that about him.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, very solidly received. Good stuff all around.
Want to do a hard pivot here?
Great film. Yes, let's do a
hard pivot to The Marvels, which released 1 week later and was the biggest movie of this month, but only by comparison. Yes. Because this should have been easily the biggest movie of this month, as we were talking about. As everyone knows, this is a colossal failure. I mean, this is a failure, I would say, unlike the likes of which we haven't seen, but also we've seen quite a few of these failures from Disney this year.
A failure of intergalactic proportions.
Yeah, and a failure that stands out even more because Quantumania which was not a good movie. Frankly, I would say a worse movie.
Yeah, I think so.
Just trounces this movie in terms of its money.
A gentle reminder that Quantumania made what, like 101, 102, 103 opening weekend?
Something like that. Yeah, well, definitely over 100.
Yeah, and this made 46.
Yeah, and made 46. And I mean, we have seen the MCU falter and shake, and some things open low, and some things not hold, and get a mixed reception in terms of Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb. But we've never seen one crater. The MCU has always been at least consistent, and I believe basically every Phase 4 and 5 movie has been profitable. I don't think this movie will be. Oh, no, certainly this movie won't be.
Absolutely. Because with a budget of $273 million, yes. I've said it before, no, this is the last time I might be able to say it, Tucker, the most expensive non-Avengers MCU film.
Yeah. And it's not reflected in how many people wanted to go see this movie. I think this is kind of the perfect storm of having so many superhero movies that have been flopping and not been very interesting over the course of the last few months. The MCU winning in popularity. This is easily the highlight, quote unquote, of you need to have watched the TV shows, the Disney Plus shows, to understand what's going on. Frankly, also Captain Marvel being a character that isn't as highly received. The first movie obviously looked down the bottom, $1.1 billion on a close to half budget, which is crazy, and much better received across the board. But a lot of that success was due to the fact that the MCU was at its peak at the end of Phase 3 and being sandwiched between Infinity War and Endgame.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
And 2 out of your 3 characters, or 2 out of your 4 characters on this poster, I guess, had their debuts in MCU Disney Plus shows. One of which was the most popular, I think, and one of which is one of the least popular.
Yes, I think the least popular.
Yeah.
Actually. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, in the second week, you use the word crater.
Yeah.
And the thing that really locks in how that is a accurate descriptor to me is the worst drop for a Hollywood superhero film to date.
Jesus
78%.
Christ.
So, I pulled that number up yesterday while we were making these, and I said 78% is so close to 100%.
Relatively, yes.
Relative to what we typically see, which you typically see in like a big movie like this, like 60-ish.
Yeah.
Like in that point, you still got 40% to go, 100%. But this is close
to 20% left.
It's incredible to me.
And of course, 100% is not possible.
No.
So when you talk about in terms of the scale of what is possible for a film of this magnitude and popularity, relative popularity, to drop with, this is about that bar. I mean, well, obviously, it literally is the bar now because it's the biggest drop ever for one of these kind of movies.
We were spelling doom for things like Quantumania when it had a nearly 70% drop off, and this is nearly 80.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy. And the unfortunate part is that this just does not help the talent behind this film. A lot of the problems with this movie come from overproducing that budget, mismanagement on the higher level, production company things, post-production nonsense that really chops this movie to crap. But Teyonah Parris, Brie Larson, Iman Vellani, and Nia DaCosta are not the issues with this film.
No.
Nia DaCosta wrote an interesting film with characters she was interested in. She was excited to do it. I have here one of our facts that she used Final Fantasy VII Advent Children, the animated Final Fantasy VII sequel film.
Okay.
From 2005 in her pitch, which is just awesome. It shows that she's a nerd. She has this idea of flashy action and crazy choreography and stuff. And then the fact that this movie is just tanking, kind of kills the potential of any of these people, like really getting big jobs in the future. I mean, we will see. I think their talent is there. We liked, we love Iman Vellani as Kamala Khan. We like Nia DaCosta's other film, Candyman. But so I think there's a chance they can recover from this, but this does not help. This does not help.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know about the upcoming project for any of these people, except for, I know that Nia DaCosta was obviously and famously, or infamously maybe, working on another film during post-production on The Marvels, which drew some ire from people online, to which I say, do you think that the MCU producers and Kevin Feige and whoever would really let the director have immediate oversight in post-production? Nay, I say.
Let her go do her actual thing. She got the bag from this. I'm sure she was paid fucking handsomely to direct the Marvels.
Actually, she said, I believe in an interview, she said a while ago, years ago now, she said that she took the job, at least partially, but maybe more than she would let on, to pay off her student loans.
Oh, okay.
And actually, her paycheck didn't cover her entire student loan.
Okay, never mind. Well, she got a bag that contributed to her hopefully getting bigger bags in the future.
Hopefully.
But
Candyman's a good movie.
It is. It's a very good movie.
Yeah.
But let's take a look down here at the bottom. Oh, I also forgot to mention on Priscilla, but I've instituted something new here. Two things, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Director's name down at the bottom. I just feel like that's information we should have.
Yeah.
And also, bottom right-hand corner is our score for the film. So you see a green bubble, that means it's over 7.
Mm-hmm.
If you see believe between 5 and 7, that's going to be yellow, and below 5 is going to be red.
Mm-hmm.
But I just want to have our thoughts on the film reflected here, because we put everyone else's. We got the Rotten Tomatoes, we got the tax at Cinema Score, but
the important people are now reflected, I think.
Relegated down to the bottom corner.
Well, that's
fine.
Tiny little number. That's fine.
But yeah, no, we weren't a big fan of this either. We did get to see this and review it with Abram, which does bring it down lower, because I believe he was the lowest on this film. But he was on the review, so unfortunately I have to reflect his opinion.
Unfortunately.
But also, right around that little corner down there is another fun little stack of names I've got. This film is currently at 30th highest grossing of the year. 30th. So we were earlier in the year talking about, what could possibly, crack into that top 10? And well, the Marvels probably could. It was a safe enough prediction.
Yeah.
30th is low. And it is below Insidious: The Red Door, Meg 2: The Trench, The Nun 2, Equalizer 3, Megan, Dungeons & Dragons: Honor Among Thieves, The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, and The Flash. And of course, everything that's higher than those movies. I just wanted to put the number 29 to 21 or whatever. Movies that are moderate successes, or frankly, some of these are not successes. And The Marvels is an even lesser success.
It is the 30th highest grossing film of 2023, and probably just spitballing here, Chucker. Maybe the fifth
top 3 highest budgeted.
I was gonna put it in the top 5 for sure. Yeah.
Well, yeah. What's higher than this?
Indiana Jones, Fast X for sure. Yeah. Both of those had 300 million plus.
And Mission Impossible?
Mission Impossible might be up. I think it might be 250.
You're right. It's definitely in the top 5.
Yeah.
Regardless. But it's also probably in the top 20 highest budget movie ever made.
Some probably.
Yeah, this is bad.
It's really bad.
We will see what this caps out at. My guess is maybe 215 if it's lucky. Maybe 215 if it's lucky.
Tucker, I think we maybe. I don't think we did. I don't think we hit 200.
You don't think? All right, we will see. Which would make this obviously the lowest grossing film in the history of the MCU.
Yep.
And puts a really big eye on next year's MCU films, which we don't have another one.
What? Film.
What do you mean?
There's only one MCU film next year.
Oh, that's right. They delayed. Wait, what about
only Deadpool 3?
No, that Captain America got pushed.
Mm-hmm. Only shit. Deadpool 3 next year.
Okay. Well, it puts a big eye on Deadpool 3, obviously.
Yeah.
But then Deadpool 3 kind of being an outlier of, this is X-Men stuff in the MCU. There's a draw there. It's been a while since a Deadpool movie. It really puts a spotlight on Captain America and Thunderbolts. Jesus Christ.
Which I want to pull. I think Captain America is now February 2025, I believe. Yes.
Oh, man. Sorry, the Marvels. We will be talking about you in fleeting detail next month when we talk about how you probably didn't make $200 million.
No, probably not. Okay. Tucker, let's go to something that performed, relatively well, but much, much lower than the Marvels. But yet, still a good friend. A great film, I might add.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
The Holdovers.
The Holdovers. Alexander Payne is back, baby, after the... Tanner, look at that budget for downsizing. 68 to 76 million. Whose idea was this? Who gave him that money? I mean, I guess it was fucking Paramount or Universal, whoever produced it. But, why? How did you get almost $100 million?
Well, here's the thing about Alexander Payne, Tucker. And then, you might not be indicated by looking at the budget and the box office of the Holdovers, but previous to downsizing, he was a draw.
Sure.
I mean, I think it was the Descendants made $80 million.
Yeah, sure.
On a very low budget, because that's just a drama set in Hawaii with George Clooney. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, The Holdovers, great film. The highest rated film on Rotten Tomatoes that we're going to talk about this month.
Not even close.
With a budget of around $30 million. I didn't see any
It's less than $30 million because the only information I can find about the budget of this film is that
Focus Features bought it for $30 million.
And that was more than the budget of the film.
Yes.
So my guess is in the 22 to 25 area.
Yeah.
But it's still kind of high for as simple of a movie that as this is. And frankly, I would say this is an underperformer. The fact that a movie of this critical reception and frankly of the quote-unquote popular reception that we have seen of people going to see it, and when we saw it, very packed theater, it doesn't seem like people really care. And also, no international release, which even then, say it doesn't do great internationally, like that's another at least $6 to $10 million.
I believe it's releasing in the UK in January, I want to say.
Okay. Oh, interesting. All right, so we will see, hypothetically, if we remember to look back at the Holdovers in a couple months.
But it also is released on video on demand on November 28th.
Okay, so it's already out there.
So, I mean, they're already, the Focus Features is trying to, sort of bleed some more money from this thing in some departments. And, the typical, conversation was drummed out on Twitter of like, oh, why do these studios put these movies up on VOD, 18 days after it released in theaters and wide release. To which, I actually did see this time some interesting rebuttals to that, being like, there are a solid handful of examples of, people still going out to theaters to see a movie that's on VOD, especially with the target demographic of the Holdovers being older folks who might not, understand how to like go to Amazon Prime and purchase a film and with their Amazon account and everything.
And may not hear about a movie in the first couple weeks of its release.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I think those are good points. Yeah. I just don't think they paint the reality of the Holdovers financial box office. This is a low-performing film. This is not a popular film. It is going to get boosts, absolutely, as it enters the award season. It is already winning some awards, but it will probably continue to be nominated and win awards for the next couple months. And so I think that it will eke into success via that. But in terms of spending $30 million on this plus the production budget of the film, it's not going to make that back. They have lost money on the Holdovers, and frankly, I do think that this, combined with downsizing, signals a lesser interest in Alexander Payne, or at least Alexander Payne style movies, especially at the box office, where we don't get simple comedy dramas anymore. It just doesn't happen there, and when it does, they're there for a couple weeks and they disappear, and that's what happens to Holdovers.
It doesn't need to be a whole long conversation, but because that conversation is something that's been drummed out a lot, and I think the Holdovers is an interesting sort of example of it. Of like, this movie is beloved by everyone who sees it, but also, I feel like, how many theaters was this released in? Probably just over 1,000, I would say. They didn't give this thing a wide release, so the conversation there is often like, the studios have the ability to be the tastemakers for the audience.
Sure.
Like, the audience can't ask for things; it's what's given to us, essentially. So in what degree it is given to the audiences.
Yeah.
So, if they had given this film a wider release, it would have made more money. Maybe would have made, upwards of $25-30 million.
Yeah. Or we might have made around $55 million, which is what Downsizing made, which again does not cover its budget, not even close. And that movie also had probably a much bigger marketing campaign. But $55 million is a lot more than $50 million.
I think it also hurts that Downsizing was not well received in the slightest.
I would agree with that. Yeah. Though also, I'm not sure if I agree with that because who cares about Downsizing? I don't think anyone remembers it or necessarily associates it with Alexander Payne, or at least enough to be like, the Holdovers probably won't be good.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think, because the Downsizing was obviously a massive departure for him in terms of style and tone of film. I don't know about tone, but definitely like subject matter, where it's not like a drama about
movies about small people before.
It's true. He made movies about Midwestern people and George Clooney, normal-sized people, or movies like Sideways, which was his first collaboration with Paul Giamatti back in 2004. I think we should hit some of the trivia points on this one too. The film won second place at the Toronto International Film Festival, losing out to Tucker. You got it. You can pull it. Well,
American Fiction?
American Fiction won the People's Choice Award there. Dominic Sessa, who is the sort of supporting actor hopeful for this film at the Oscars, this is actually his big screen debut, even a small screen debut. He's never been in anything before, because he was a student at Deerfield Academy, which is one of the number of like private schools that they filmed this movie at. And was just discovered there by Alexander Payne. He's like, this kid's got it.
Yeah, and he did, and he was awesome, and I hope to see him in the award season. But that'll absolutely help his career. And Paul Giamatti and Divine Joy Randolph, their careers are helped a lot by this film because it is working where it was intended to work. But I am curious to see what Alexander Payne is able to do next. I'm sure he'll be working on another film, but what's the budget for that going to be? I don't think 2 financial failures back to back is really going to help his case for getting a big budget.
At the same time though, like Martin Scorsese made a financial failure with Killers of the Flower Moon, so like I don't think
Apple doesn't give a fuck.
Apple doesn't give a fuck.
Focus Features, or sorry, who produced this movie?
Focus Features.
Yeah, Focus Features. I think they care a little bit more. This is their
That's
bag.
fair. That's fair.
Apple made this.
Hey,
Apple made this.
That's fair.
This is me buying this laptop paid for Killers of the Flower Moon.
And Martin Scorsese should thank you for that, Tucker.
Martin, call me.
Call me. Okay, Tiger 3.
Yeah, Tiger 3. Here's an interesting one. We have been covering Indian films more and more frequently here on the show. But Tiger 3 is a film that is confusing to us because there seems to be a lack of concrete information about its success or more likely failure because this was posited not only as another big entry in the YRF spy universe, the other entry of which was Pathan earlier this year, which made $128 million worldwide, and Tiger 3 opening on Diwali, $55 million total in like a month. This is not doing well, and it's primarily just because it's not that great a movie.
No,
it seems like the audience over in India and worldwide is just like. It's kind of a movie. Yeah. Get a little bit of money, but like certainly not that much. But it was the biggest Diwali opening for a Hindu language film.
Yes.
So it was popular on that first couple days or day.
Which you would assume, you get some of the biggest Indian movie stars in there. You get Salman Khan, you get Katrina Kaif in there. People are going to go see it. The YRF.
A little SRK, if you don't mind a little spoilers.
Oh yeah, sorry. I think it probably expected by the broader audience. And the YRF spy universe has produced very exciting, very high earning films in the past. Yeah. So naturally you would go out to go see it, but. I think it was just the quality issue that sort of betrayed this film, because it does have a 45% on Rotten Tomatoes, 7.8 on IMDb, which is pretty solid. But IMDb, often gives out positive scores.
They skew higher.
They skew higher, I think.
But it's interesting to see this compared to the second Tiger movie, Tigers in the High, from 2017, which is a whole 6 years ago, just coming off the back of Act the Tiger and starting the YRF spy universe, just this idea of creating a continuing series of big-budget Indian action films. That movie made $90 million, almost $90 million on a $20 million budget. And this is the inverse of that. This is a $35 million budget, so almost double, and still only at 55 and a half total.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is, I don't know. I think this, frankly, signals the closing of the Tiger chapter.
Yeah.
One thing that we know about the future of the YRF spy universe is that not only are we getting War 2, which we have actually not seen War, but that was a very successful film.
Yeah.
But we are getting Tiger versus Pathan at some point in the future, and I think that can work.
I think so too.
I think that can work.
Yeah.
But it's the crossover with Pathan that is going to be saving Tiger in a couple of years.
Yeah.
Tiger 3 is just kind of a petering out for this trilogy of films.
Yeah. It's also, in doing some research on Indian box office sites, apparently I think they're kind of like $100 million domestic club is the 300 rupee club or 300 crore club.
Yeah.
And it's
crore, by the way, is I think 10 million rupees or something like that.
So it's unlikely to reach that, according to some of those pundits over there, especially with releases of new Indian films, high-profile Indian films like Animal and Sambal Dwar. So yeah, it's sort of getting pushed out now.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's just because it's not particularly popular. It's like, hey, we got other movies, go see those.
Yeah.
But, forget that Tiger 3 actually wasn't like that good and didn't make that much money.
Yeah.
But YRF Spy Universe isn't dead because they just added SRK to it, and he was the best part of Tiger 3.
Yep.
And Pathan was a giant hit.
Yep.
And Tiger vs. Pathan is coming later, so
Yep.
we will be covering those much later down the line. They're not coming out for like a year and a half or something like that.
Yep.
But it's not dead. Just the Tiger mini subsect of that.
Hey, we closed out the trilogy. We don't need any more.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
Tanner?
Yes.
This is the story of the month.
Thugtobosis?
The Hunger Games, the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Now, actually, shouldn't it be Thug... Oh, Tobosis. No, I already did that. Yeah. Thugtobosis.
Trust the Thugtobosis, Tucker.
I do trust in it. Yeah. Because this movie is making money.
Yeah.
Manner. And we actually, this is the first time, we're 5 movies in. This is the first movie to be profitable.
True.
Yeah.
On a budget of $100 million.
Feels nice. Feels good. Warms the dark cackles of my
Chump
heart.
change, according to like the Walt Disney Corporation.
Yeah.
$100 million?
That's not possible.
What
We
is
can't
this?
make a movie for that.
An indie film?
Yeah.
Anyway, it has made, thus far, $197 million worldwide, so has doubled that for sure. And
we'll probably lag out to 250, 260, I would say.
sure, okay, especially with the holds that this thing is having.
Yeah.
It is having some incredible holds. The second weekend drop was 35%. Now, earlier in the show, obviously, I said, typically with a movie like this, you'd be looking at like a 60. 35 is incredible.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's really, really incredible, the holds that this is having, largely because of word of mouth, I think. Obviously, this opened on November 17th. That following weekend would be Thanksgiving weekend for people to, be off work, be back home, go out to see this
which does
with everyone.
help that hold.
Yeah, for sure. So that was a good strategic point from...
Fucking, I don't know. Universal Bear now? One of these bastards. No, Lionsgate.
Lionsgate.
It's
Thank you.
Because this is like the thing they have.
Yeah.
This and John Wick are like the only franchises.
And Silent Night, obviously.
True. But yeah, Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes is a successful film. I think what is interesting about this is that it did open okay. It opened fine. But it is holding. People enjoy it, and it is sparking a reinvigoration in interest in the Hunger Games franchise that had been gone for almost a decade at this point.
Yeah.
Mockingjay Part 2 down there at the bottom, released in 2015, so it had been a very long time. And I think this does signal that there will be sequels to this. We haven't had them confirmed yet.
No.
But I think that this side of the IP and this reinvigoration of the franchise, especially as well as it's holding, the word of mouth it's receiving, I think can push them to make this its own trilogy, probably. I don't think they can get 4 movies out of this necessarily. But it'll be interesting to see because, while this was based on the 2020 novel called the exact same thing, also by Suzanne Collins, there's not source material to pull from. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean they can't work with Suzanne Collins to continue the story only in screenplay format, or they can't be like, hey, Suzanne, you're probably working on this, but like put it out so we can adapt it. We're gonna get more of this.
Yeah.
And it's just a success.
Yeah.
Unlike so many of the blockbuster films we've talked about this year, this is something that is well received.
Yep.
People are talking about it and sending people to the theaters to say, like, hey, it's actually pretty good. You remember the Hunger Games. You remember enjoying that. Let's just go back to that. But it's not like all the other trying to recapture a franchise we've gotten this year where it's like, oh, they're making another one of those?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting when we say word of mouth because it has a 60% on Rotten Tomatoes. It got a B+ cinema score.
Yeah.
So it's not like over the moon.
Yeah.
But people are like, hey, this is pretty solid.
Yeah.
It's pretty solid.
Yeah. I think the failure of the Marvels the week before also really helped it.
I think so,
too. In terms
too.
of a worse received film.
Yeah.
And this one is like, hey, you know what? If you didn't want to see the Marvels, here's an alternative.
Yeah. It was also given a promotion deal. They struck a deal with SAG while that strike was still ongoing, and I think the strike wrapped up maybe like a week or 2 weeks later. So, that marketing push probably helped a little bit, especially when you have stars like, Rachel Zegler in this thing. And
and she's done the work to promote it since the SAG strike
Tom
ended.
Blythe is getting out there too, being a handsome British man in front of cameras and so forth. And I see a lot of like reactions to this. It's also the demographic it's pointed out, but like lots of people talking about this thing on social media too, TikToks, Twitters, that kind of thing. But Tucker, we also mentioned, the Hunger Games is back. You love the Hunger Games. Come back and see the Hunger Games movies.
Yeah.
A new Hunger Games movie.
Yeah, and it's doing well for itself. But the truth of the matter is that this is a complicated story. This film in and of itself is a success, and I think could spur on bigger successes now that this, again, side of the IP has been reinvigorated. But the Hunger Games used to be fucking massive.
Yeah.
It used to be massive, and now it's okay. It's good. And so I made a little slide here called The Sound of Snow Falling. Now, this isn't me saying this movie is a failure, but that The Hunger Games has fallen in popularity, dramatically so. If you look at this bar graph here, I love making me some bar graphs. I have the production budget in purple, the total box office gross in sort of teal,
light blue
here, like a robin's egg, kind of like a periwinkle, one of those seafoam kind of style, and then the domestic opening in kind of like like a cerulean, kind of like kind of a sky blue,
maybe like a sea blue a little bit. Yeah, I don't know.
On the side, and this is the worst in all of those categories. Except, it doesn't have the biggest budget actually. The Mockingjay movies are slightly higher budgeted. But while this film will likely be profitable in the theatrical market and certainly will be profitable for Lionsgate overall, it's just so much less popular. Like people just care so much less.
Yeah, I think there's an element of like obviously nostalgia is a big thing, but also people probably aging out of Hunger Games and being like, oh, I remember those books. Or
and I don't believe that the novel of Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes was as popular as that original.
Certainly not. No. But yeah, it's also just interesting to see that Catching Fire, the second film, is the highest grossing of them all.
Yeah.
It's also the best one, I think.
It's from everything that I've heard and from, I believe, I saw that movie. I don't remember jack shit about it. It was 2013. But yeah, you can see here that until Mockingjay Part 2, these movies made back their budgets opening weekend.
Yeah.
Domestic opening weekend.
Just a hand over fist money for Hunger Games movies.
And this one was like a little under half of its production budget. And it just goes to show, like, The Hunger Games, 2012, just kickstarting a franchise. Year after year after year, 4 years in a row, getting these movies. And that budget, the lowest of all of them, biggest opening weekend out of all of them. And just, or actually, I think Catching Fire might be a little bit higher.
Yeah, that would make sense.
But just, these movies used to be massive. And this is successful. And I think that we can inch our way up in terms of opening weekends. Absolutely, the next movie will open higher. But I just don't think they can recapture what they had before, and that's okay though, because again, this is a success, and frankly, Lionsgate needs all the wins they can get. Because they don't have a ton of franchises, and that's what's important nowadays. But they're building something here, but it's just so much smaller than it was before.
Yeah. All right, Tucker. I think we got to move a little bit faster. We got a lot of movies to get through yet.
Sure.
So, I don't want to speed through Thanksgiving because we both really enjoyed this film, but it's a horror movie. It's a gimmick, sort of centered horror movie that came out around Thanksgiving and is doing quite well.
Yeah.
Budget of $15 million, has made 30 thus far. Got a sequel greenlit immediately, which we love to see.
Yep.
We had a great time with Thanksgiving. Love to see our boy Eli Roth employed and working. Speaking of Eli Roth, this idea was a long time in the works.
Yeah, it was. So there are three elements of talking about Thanksgiving in the moment that are interesting. This was based off of an idea that he had a super, super long time ago that was then turned into a mini fake trailer for Grindhouse in 2007. And he just really wanted to make this. So he just kept being like, okay, I'm working on it. And finally, leaving the set of Borderlands.
Yes, I wanted to note this because this is something that was he talked about in a podcast interview that I listened to. He is obviously making the Borderlands movie that comes out in August.
Made the Borderlands movie.
He did make the Borderlands movie that's coming out in August of next year.
That's my birthday movie.
Shout out!
Can't wait.
And left the set of that film, which is not
a great sign.
From reports, maybe that film's a bit of a mess production-wise. Left that film to go make Thanksgiving, and left additional direction up to Tim Miller. Tucker, you recognize the name Tim Miller?
Yeah, didn't he do Deadpool?
He directed Deadpool. Apparently, him and Eli Roth are close friends, so there's that. But yeah, just interesting. He's like, I gotta clear my head after Borderlands. I'm gonna go make the movie that me and my friend Jeff Rendell were planning since we were 12 years old.
Yeah. Which is awesome to see in terms of a realization of this, and a well-received realization of this. And I think I talk about the first thing interesting, it was in production for a long time. Second thing interesting, 83 on Rotten Tomatoes for a fucking horror movie.
Incredible
certified
stuff.
Fresh.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen. It just does not happen.
Yeah.
I think the other, maybe only other well-received horror movies this year is Megan, really, really early on in the year. Everything else has been we're watching it, but this isn't really good. Franchise, Insidious, The Nun, yada, yada, yada. But people just like Thanksgiving because it's a well-made, like very honest, just fun film with a clear directorial vision. And it'll be really cool to see how they are able to build in ideas and popularity with a sequel, which is the third thing that's interesting. In production for a long time, well-received at it coming out, and they already have a sequel greenlit. And I'm excited about this because, as we've been saying, as we've been covering lots of horror movies recently, I love watching a new horror franchise start. Where we've been getting this fucking IP with new entries every 2 to 3 years for so long, and seeing Megan start and seeing Thanksgiving start, it's just like, good. Yeah. Just keep going.
Tucker, talk to me about this Roth perspective.
Yeah, I was just interested to talk about Eli Roth because he's been a working director for a long time, but he's ebbed and flowed in terms of his popularity. He started as a micro-budget horror filmmaker, all of which were successful. Cabin Fever, Hostel, Hostel Part 2, all movies that made a bunch of money and were made for small budgets. But then with the not Dante's Inferno, The Green Inferno and Knock Knock.
When he wrote Dante's Inferno back in 1612.
These are low-budget films, but just not as successful as his previous horror fare, sort of more campy grindhouse kind of things. And then he got kind of sucked into the wormhole of, let's just make some big budget family action fare. What the fuck's going on with Death Wish and House with a Cock?
Family, no. Death Wish is not a family film.
Families are
sure. But you get the opportunity. Eli Roth seems like the kind of guy who's like, I have the opportunity to work with Bruce Willis. I'm going to take it.
Sure. Yeah.
In that podcast I listened to, he also brought up Knock Knock as he's like, the studio just totally fumbled the release and the marketing of that movie.
Yeah.
And I think it did sort of have like a second life on streaming where people are like, what is this movie where Keanu Reeves is there and Ana de Armas is like tying him up and wanting to have sex with him? What's going on there?
That sounds pretty good to me.
Yeah. And the other woman is there. Two beautiful women are tying up to Keanu Reeves. I don't know. And then the house with the house with a clock in its walls. Yep. Don't want to say the name that we often refer to it with, but I actually did quite well.
Yeah, it did very well. It did very
interesting.
Well. And that's probably what gave him the money to work on these other movies and got him the
Borderlands job,
gig, which we will see.
Yep.
I imagine the movie has a very large budget.
I imagine
and
so too.
It's possible it makes money as sort of a video game IP new thing, but it also sounds like it's going to be bad.
Yeah.
So maybe I don't want it to make too much money because I don't want bad movies making money. But Thanksgiving 2 is on the way, so I don't give a fuck. The honest to God truth.
Yeah. Next goal wins. Speaking of things that were in production for a long time,
Jesus Christ.
It's finally here. The sort of the scourge on Taika Waititi's career has arrived, and to little acclaim.
No.
To little acclaim and little fanfare. It has been dumped in mid-November after receiving quite middling scores on Rotten Tomatoes and early previews. It has a 41% on there right now. A film that we really did not enjoy. Has made thus far $6.2 million on a budget of 14 production budget, with reshoots and release date pushes and so forth. I don't know how that has ballooned out. I would imagine to some degree, but it's just interesting because hearing things about this film and also I think it sort of tracks the trajectory of Taika Waititi's career as well, and his sort of imagery in the larger film going audience, where like back when this film was announced and was going to come out in 2019, or it started in 2019, it was going to come out in the early 2020s, I'd say. He had it all. He was riding high. He was attached to direct like 11 movies and TV shows and stuff like that.
Just coming off reinventing Thor and also fucking winning an Oscar.
Yeah. And now he seems to have burnt himself out a little bit. He's got a Star Wars movie that he is like not making but also won't shut up about, seemingly.
Yep.
And he's been like all these movies at this point that he's attached to, you're like, when are these coming out? This is like 10 movies.
Yeah.
Certainly these aren't happening. And then you have the release of Next Goal Wins, which is maybe like an awards hopeful at some point, that has now just been ground into the dirt by Fox Searchlight, and just abandoned. It was supposed to come out, in April and then September. It obviously had some drama surrounding the replacement of Armie Hammer with Will Arnett.
Yeah.
So kind of just a cursed film, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, and also the fact that it just took so long to come out. I mean, we've been hearing rumblings about this film at least from early screenings, being pretty good and hopeful for some award stuff.
Yeah.
And because it just took so long to come out, people just don't care.
Yeah.
People just didn't care. I think it's funny that this was shot before Thor: Love and Thunder.
It was.
Which came out well more than a year before this one, which is just really, really interesting and like makes you think a little bit more acutely about production schedules and controversy. And like this movie was probably done around the time that Thor: Love and Thunder came out.
Yeah.
Searchlight's just like, what the fuck are we gonna do with this?
We don't know what to do with it.
Yeah, yeah.
It premiered at TIFF this year. That's when they actually decided to put it out. But no, just a nothing movie. Just gone with the wind. This film.
But we have some other bigger movies to finish off the month with, which is number one of this last bit. Trolls Band Together, the Trolls franchise, being something that DreamWorks has been able to hang their hat on, something pretty successful over the course of the last couple of years. The primary recent example being Trolls World Tour, releasing in 2020, was one of the first films to successfully handle the day and date.
Yeah, I remember that. That was a big deal.
It was showing in theaters for a long time because there was fucking nothing else to see. Families were seeing it. It was being rented online, and it did well for itself. Of course, normal budget did not make that back theatrically, but for the time, Trolls World Tour was definitely a success.
Yeah.
In comparison to the things releasing around it, like Wonder Woman 1984, that was the same time.
Onward.
True. Yeah. But Trolls Band Together has recaptured the energy. I mean, DreamWorks knows how to make $100 million.
$150 million.
Yeah. People like this
Trolls.
stuff.
Okay.
And of course we're not even 2 weeks in to its release, and it's at 150. So this will easily be profitable in the theatrical window. And also, this is a fucking marketing and marketing agreement, just cash cow. The McDonald's toys, advertising, put them on fucking Ziploc baggies, put them on lunch boxes.
Tucker, there's two things that do well in the modern cinematic landscape. Two things that you can rely on: animated sequels.
Yeah.
For children's films and horror movies.
Yep. And Trolls Band Together is one of those.
Yeah.
It's not both though.
It's not both.
But yeah, well received. An A cinema scores, we said, one of the highest of this month. Receives mixed Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb, but whatever. I mean, that's frankly not the point.
Yeah.
We didn't see it. I think it's actually the only movie here we didn't see.
Yeah.
But we have to cover it because this is making a lot of money. It's very popular. It's bringing people to the fucking box office, which basically nothing else we're talking about this month can say.
All right. Let's take a
look. Actually, hold on. I do want to say here, brand deals. Many brand deals were struck for promotion, including Shake Shack, Puma, Icy, and Southwest Airlines. And also there was a video game that came out.
Yeah.
Like fucking last month. It's like, what? But I mean, hey, that's exactly what this movie was made for.
Let's take a swing around the horn, Tucker, to an animated children's film that didn't fare as well, shall we say.
Releasing just 5 days after.
That's right.
Trolls Band Together. And on the Thanksgiving weekend that is supposed to give people enough time and space and family energy to come to the box office and really make things shine. Wish is Disney's 100-year anniversary animated feature film. This is, I mean, I made videos about it. I put it on my draft list.
Yeah.
I thought this would be massive, and I think Disney did as well. But this is a tanker. This is a tanker stinker. The only thing that you can say that's good about it, we're on the up and up. Opened much bigger than Strange World. Much bigger than Strange World.
we're on the upswing. We're on the upswing. This is a massive flop. $50 million thus far on a $200 million budget.
Yep. That's actually normal for these movies. Strange World cost about that. The Frozen movies cost even more.
Yep.
Like this is a normal budget, but again, it's just too high. I mean, if they learned something from DreamWorks and made this movie for $100 million, still wouldn't be profitable, but they wouldn't be losing as much money.
Yeah. So it premiered just hours after the end of the SAG strike.
I think that's very funny. Yeah. The SAG strike ended at like an afternoon time on a day, and then just a couple hours later, they already scheduled everything out. Get everyone coming to the Wish screening.
Yep.
Disney, your skis bags. Your skis bags.
Yeah. Excuse me, Tucker.
It's okay.
Anyway, this film, I don't know.
There's two facts here.
49% on Rotten Tomatoes is,
very
indicative. Yeah.
But the two other facts that I have here, that it has the second highest viewed trailer for a Disney animated film. So I think that also made them think this is going to be a big thing.
Yeah,
but
just another example of how trailer views on YouTube do not translate into people's butts and seats.
Yeah. And it just completely underperformed. Obviously, it's not going to be profitable, but underperformed even compared to projections, which were to open to 45 to 50 million over the 5 day.
Yeah.
And instead we were sitting at a 31 over the 5 day. And only 53 worldwide. Again, only in like a week of release. But we will be following this film because it's a very interesting one to track in terms of Disney's track record this year. We'll check back in on it next month. But I can't imagine this making more than like 150 total.
Yeah, I think
it would have to really leg out for that.
Yeah. What else? Oh, so Tucker, I also want to mention because I brought up how like Thug Tobosis was getting a lot of talk on TikTok and stuff like that. This is also, to a lesser degree, but also to a very negative degree.
Sure.
I only see, even after the release of this film, I only see people mostly talking about the songs of this, which is, a huge draw for Disney musicals. People want to go to see the fun songs and stuff and so forth. And, like, especially comparing, like, Encanto and this. And being like, this is the same studio?
Yeah.
Sure. It's mostly, pick any song from Encanto, and then they typically pick the Chris Pine song from this, which I think Disney released online. And it's just like...
this is what I...
This is the thanks I get.
Thanks I get, yeah.
And people are just like, this is awful.
Yeah, in comparison, absolutely.
Yeah. And I think that contributes greatly. People see that stuff and they're like, it's a massive downgrade. Like, I don't like this. I don't like the look of this movie either. It's different from the Walt Disney Animation house style. It looks a little bit like more undercooked. And then, and this is something that I don't know how much we want to get into since we have another movie and then the rest of the slides to get through yet here. But I think this movie really did solidify for me personally how Disney Plus has weakened the theatrical brand of Disney films, especially their animated stuff. I just think it's very strange. And, it released, you said it 5 days after some animated competition that nobody has Paramount Plus. They don't know when Trolls Band Together is going to go to streaming. Yeah. They know, hey, Wish will be on Disney Plus. I know that for a fact.
Absolutely, and it'll probably hit before the end of the year.
That'd be a really quick turnaround for Disney Plus. Never mind. It'll probably be like February, I'd say.
Yeah, because when did Encanto come out? Because Encanto was on Disney Plus before the end of its year.
Yeah, but I think
was that the end date actually?
I think it was actually, yeah.
Yeah.
Because that was November 2021.
I don't know when Strange World hit Disney Plus.
I just know that Indiana Jones: Dial of Destiny just hit Disney Plus in early December.
Took a while. We'll see. I think this might go sooner in terms of Disney Plus is for the families. This is definitely more of a family movie that they'll want to get butts in seats. And by seats I mean
your couch at home,
couches, and watching it on phones and laptops. So I think it'll be sooner. But
just handing your kid your iPhone with Wish Plan on it.
Who knows? Yeah. This is just a major loss for them.
Okay.
But Ridley Scott is back to put Wish to shame.
He's back to his old shenanigans.
Making a movie for $200 million. Apple just paying out the ass for these movies.
Yeah. Love to see it.
And bigger than Wish.
Bigger than Wish.
This will probably be close to that lower end of the production budget. Again, this is a very vague, very large swath of production budget here. But yeah, Napoleon is a solidly successful movie. I mean, we're already almost at $100 million in just over a week. So that's pretty solid. The performances are getting good response. But I just don't know how much. I don't know how much Ridley Scott cares about any facet of success. He just seems to he just does it for the love of the game, I guess.
Hey, he's 85 years old. He's making in some cases 2 movies a year. He's entering, I think, pre-production. Well, he's in production of Gladiator 2 now. And after Napoleon came out, he's like, yeah, I'm making my next film. I'm writing it. Or no, excuse me, he's not writing it. He's entering pre-production.
Yeah.
He actually has not written any of his films throughout his career.
Sure. Yeah. He's a director of other people's scripts.
Yeah.
But Napoleon is just solidly received in terms of critics score. I think this might get a couple of techs in terms of nominations.
It'd be a bit of a stretch. The Academy seems to have a bit of an apprehension towards Ridley Scott, though.
Sure.
I think Gladiator next year could see a bit of a return if it's a
That
higher
one-
quality film.
The first film won Best Picture.
It did.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, this is interesting. You know, this is a big budget historical drama that released over Thanksgiving, so maybe trying to get some of those, like, your dad saying, "Hey, let's go to the movies. I think that Napoleon movie looks cool."
Yeah, that's what they were trying to do with Devotion last year.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, there's obviously some big headlines. Ridley Scott doing more to promote this film than maybe like anybody else.
Absolutely.
With just
Being a dick.
going full hater mode.
Yeah.
Being like, the French don't even like themselves, shirking off historians. He's like, "You weren't there, you don't know."
Yeah, he's just been incredibly aggressive, and it's been, frankly, it's been fun to follow. I like him as a filmmaker. I've liked basically every single one of the movies I've seen.
Yeah.
He's just he does it for the love of the game. He keeps working on stuff. His movies recently have not been financially or critically successful.
No.
He just keeps on trucking though, and so Godspeed, Riddles. Keep on working.
There's also a 4-hour version of this. According to Ridley Scott, you know, he's a bit of a big presence. He's 85 years old. He might just be like saying things as well.
Sure.
But
possible.
According to him, there's a 4-hour cut of this film, which I think would be better. You know, I didn't get to review Napoleon. Or we didn't do a review for Napoleon, but I think that this film would improve with some maybe being cut. It was definitely seems cut down to 2.5 hours ish.
Yeah.
So that 4-hour version is apparently coming to Apple TV Plus at some point.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's actually interesting to look down here at House of Gucci. Of course, if you remember back to 2021, House of Gucci and The Last Duel were released like 3 months apart, which is insane for two large-scale movies to come from the same director in that period of time. Which House of Gucci was a successful film, middlingly received and didn't get the awards push, but people just like the movies and go to see the movies that Ridley Scott makes, and I can see Napoleon also ending up probably around 200 million.
Yeah.
So again, not financially successful, and probably not necessarily critically successful, and probably not awards successful, but like people just go to see him.
Ridley Scott, he knows how to make a crowd pleaser.
Yeah,
I'd say.
yeah.
I think Tucker. I'm gonna call Moonshot here. We're like a year out. I think Gladiator 2 is gonna be big.
Sure.
I think Gladiator 2 is gonna be quite big.
Isn't it also a Thanksgiving film next year?
Yeah, I think it's November next year. Yeah.
Well, we will see. We'll be back in a year.
Yep.
But I have instituted something else, Tanner. I instituted a pie chart. We've gotten bar graphs.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever done a line graph, but
okay.
Here's a pie chart.
Well, you did. Oh no, you're not. Okay, never mind. Go ahead.
Here's a pie chart showing the amount of money that all these films made in their totals and how much they sort of compared to one another. So in terms of money made at the November box office from new films total, you can see what made money and what didn't. I think the funniest one down here is Next Goal wins at under 1%.
0.8. That's pretty good. I like that.
Which even Priscilla has 2.5.
Yeah.
But
the biggest chunks in the pie being, of course, the biggest films that we talked about, The Marvels, Hunger Games, and Trolls Band Together.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, you know,
I just thought it'd be interesting to see visualize.
It is interesting. It is good to visualize it.
And kind of have them all on the same slide.
Napoleon's got a solid chunk of the pie
it
there.
Does.
Yeah.
And, again, that's only in 1 week of release.
Yeah.
Or about 1 week. And then Wish has 6%. Wish should have like a quarter of this, frankly.
Yeah.
Frankly.
Wish is like the piece that the person on a diet at Thanksgiving, that's the piece of the pie that they take. He's like,
I'll
take
6%.
I'll take a half a slice. I'll take a half a slice.
But Disney wants the whole pie, but they aren't getting it. They are not fucking getting it.
Yeah. Month versus month, Tucker. Let's talk about,
I think that was fun.
I really love doing this because we get to look back. We've been reviewing films on Backlot Banter now for over a year, so we get to look back and see how would these films stack up. 2022 versus 2023.
This is the biggest disparity we've actually ever had in the last, I think, 4 months I've been doing this, month versus month. But when you compare these films here, it's not that last year was phenomenal, but there were multiple really goddamn good movies last year.
Yeah.
And while we obviously really liked Thanksgiving, it was kind of the only thing that like was really good. From this month.
Yep.
And everything else was just like, okay.
Yeah.
You know, Hunger Games was good.
We got 4 greens versus 2 greens.
Yeah.
You know, we had a red in each one, but I mean, there's again that full point disparity between Wish and Strange World.
Yeah. And I did I'm not gonna lie, I fudged a little bit of the numbers here. I didn't lie about them, but we didn't review a good chunk of these movies.
You pulled our letterbox scores.
I averaged our letterbox scores. And yeah, because we did actually record a review of Thanksgiving, but there was no audio, so we couldn't upload it. I did turn on the microphone.
Yeah.
Though we did review that, we reviewed a chunk of these. We reviewed 4 out of 6 of these.
Yeah.
Well, actually, no. We reviewed 5 out of 6 of these. You saw 4 out of 6 of these reviews.
Yes.
And then last year we reviewed 3 of these movies. Well, and then we reviewed Fabelmans later down the line.
Yep.
But I mean, God, the Fabelmans and Glass Onion just fucking trounce.
They are really keeping 2022 afloat. Some of the
Wish
films,
compared to Strange World, lower. Marvels compared to Wakanda Forever, much lower.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just last year was just a lot better. I mean, I don't think particularly fondly back on November of last year because that was actually a really, really bad month at the box office in terms of the only thing that people cared at all about was Wakanda Forever.
Yeah.
Fabelman's tanking, Strange World tanking even harder than Wish was tanking. But the quality of last year's movies, with Steven Spielberg in the chair instead of Ridley Scott,
yes,
and Glass Onion bringing us back to theaters instead of
bringing us back to theaters for a week.
Sure, well, it brought me back to theater. Yeah.
That's true.
And then the menu, I don't know. Yeah, just a pretty big disparity in terms of the quality of last month.
Yeah, Tucker, let's take a look at last month. Very thin, as we were.
I spaced them out because I thought it'd be funny.
Very funny. So yes, the October opened up with The Exorcist Believer. When we talked about it last time, it had made 130. It's made 135 now.
Yep.
It's on VOD.
No one cares. It's bad.
Yeah, no one cares, and it's bad.
Money.
Taylor Swift The Eras Tour has wrapped up its theatrical run, I believe. Has made way for Beyonce to have her concert film out here in December now.
We'll talk about that next month.
It made 231 the last time we talked about it. Made a solid chunk of change more, 248.
Yeah.
Just more money on top of that. More money in Taylor Swift's pocket.
She needs it.
She needs it. She's struggling. Killers of the Flower Moon made 120 last time we talked, and it has added about 32 million from there. I believe hits VOD here in the next week or so.
Sure.
And Five Nights at Freddy's made an additional $60 million from when we talked about it. It famously did have a bit of a harsh second week drop, but continued to show up in like the top 5 box office for a while afterwards.
Yeah, and it's because it's a movie that got people excited to go to the movie theater, which a chunk of the movies this last month did, varying degrees of success, and not a lot was doing last month other than Taylor Swift and Five Nights at Freddy's. But Five Nights at Freddy's, again, I want to remind you, made for a $20 million budget.
Yeah.
$20 million here. We've been talking about movies in the range of $100 million to $200 million to $270 million.
Yep.
$20 million, and the box office of Five Nights at Freddy's is just annihilating those other movies.
The funniest thing about the Five Nights at Freddy's budget to me, I think we said this when we talked about it, just to reiterate, it was profitable as soon as they sold it to Universal.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And a sequel to that has been announced, as we'll get to our headlines here. But we're on the precipice of Megan's a franchise now, Thanksgiving's a franchise now, but who the fuck knows how many Five Nights at Freddy's movies they're gonna make?
I don't know.
They're gonna beat this horse into the ground.
They will.
This bear?
Yeah. Tucker, we have a new entry in the top 10 highest-grossing domestic films
This
of 2023.
is the first time that we've had one of these since like 3 months ago.
Yeah. That new entry is, of course, Taylor Swift The Eras Tour with $178.3 million. Domestic, of course. And, everything else is sitting in the same place, kind of.
Because nothing else made any more money.
Of course. Yeah. As you pointed out, we have quite an early year weighted average here, with things like obviously the Super Mario Brothers movie, Guardians 3, Little Mermaid, Quantumania, John Wick, Spider-Verse, all coming out in the first 6 months of the year, and then like Barbie and Oppenheimer are July films, and Sound of Freedom are all July films. Taylor Swift bumps out Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny.
So long, we'll miss you.
I won't. But yeah, I mean, I think we probably could have seen this coming. It just took a while to get there. It took a little bit to get there.
Yeah, it did. The initial hope was that this would climb to like the top 5 or 3. Yeah, didn't happen.
No.
But it bumped. I'm glad it bumped off.
Yeah.
It bumped off old Indy.
We mentioned it with the Marvels. The only thing that could question Taylor Swift's chair at number 10 is Aquaman.
It is Aquaman. And that is sliding fast.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It is a challenge for the throne, much like Aquaman might be familiar with.
Sure, yeah.
The throne of number 10. Ooh.
Yeah, 10th place. Whoop. Headlines, Tanner, before we wrap this out.
Okay.
This has been a wacky month.
Yes.
For headlines.
So, starting early on, I think this is something we had mentioned in November, but there are developments, of course. Coyote vs. Acme, the Warner Brothers film that was going to be Batgirled, as people have taken some verbiage there, written off for tax purposes for Warner Brothers. It was saved by public outrage. We did it. We saved Coyote.
It sounds awesome.
It
so
does
I'm
sound awesome. Yeah. But it's not a Warner Brothers film anymore. Apparently, it is being shopped around to other studios, including apparently some streamers are quite interested in this, like Amazon and Netflix.
Yeah.
So we'll be seeing this at some point, probably next year.
Yeah. Crazy that this is not a Warner Brothers film because it's
about the Looney Tunes movie. I don't know. I don't know what DZ is cooking up over there.
Yeah.
So probably something bad, I'd assume.
But then probably the biggest news of the month.
Yeah.
Dave Filoni is now Chief Creative Officer for Lucasfilm, for Star Wars.
Some are rejoicing, Tucker. Some are like the Ewoks rejoicing at the end of Return of the Jedi. Some are quite
Star
sad.
Wars reference, sad Star Wars reference.
Maybe like Anakin on Mustafar.
Yeah.
No!
Oh no, they're at Liam Neeson's funeral.
Yeah. There you go.
This is gonna be interesting.
Yeah.
To see how this turns out. Star Wars has been in such a
weird place,
a mixed place for the last couple of years.
Disney Plus oriented place for the last couple of years.
But the truth of the matter is that Dave Filoni is the successful part of that weirdness. He's the one that spearheaded the Mandalorian shows, which are the only thing that's been really successful about Star Wars recently. The interconnected storytelling of those is popular within the people that watch those.
Yes,
and he also obviously cares a lot about this. He's not like some of these fuckers at the top that are just like, yeah, I'll just put it out.
He's like the George Lucas prodigy, is how a lot of people describe him. And whether or not he understands fully, what people love about Star Wars, or maybe George Lucas might be a little bit deluded at this point too, with the prequels. But like, he's deep in the lore. He's knee deep in that lore, and he loves putting that lore stuff in there. Is that going to cross over to general audiences come, inevitably the next Star Wars film?
Yeah, we'll see. This is just an interesting creative decision, and I'm not particularly worried or excited about this yet. I know he's passionate about it, which excites me, but I also think that there's a chance that he's too passionate about it and again dilutes the popularity or potential popularity of the films. But it's just a big deal regardless.
Marvel news, Tucker. We always got some Marvel news. We talk about Star Wars. We got some Marvel news here. Destin Daniel Cretton, who you might know as the director of Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, and Jeff Loveness, who is the writer on Quantumania, have left Kang Dynasty, or perhaps they've been fired from Kang Dynasty. But Michael Waldron, the writer of Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, has joined the project. So there was some confusion there. I was like, are they scrapping Kang Dynasty altogether? But then they bring on this new writer. I think Michael Waldron also did Loki season 1. Yeah. So they did bring on a new writer for Kang Dynasty. They're not throwing it away entirely.
Also a better writer. Compared Loki to Quantumania.
Exactly. The better writer there, but also someone who maybe with a bit of a different idea, I think. Michael Waldron is more multiversal stuff, whereas Jeff Loveness was like the Kang guy with Quantumania, so we'll see.
We will see.
Might be looking at a title change for that film coming soon.
Perhaps.
And Tucker, Star Wars, Marvel, DC. Perfect. Let's talk about DC. Nicholas Hoult and Skylar Gisondo have joined the cast of Superman Legacy as Lex Luthor and Jimmy Olsen, respectively. Not flipped.
What? That would be bizarre.
Yeah.
But these are great castings.
Yeah.
I love both these actors, and I think they're perfect for both those roles.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see the start of the DCU. Yeah. Drop the E, just DCU. And this movie seems cast-wise to be shaping up to be really good.
Yeah.
So happy with this.
Yeah.
But it's yet to be seen if this will be successful, obviously.
There's apparently a new Jason Bourne film in the works.
I think I heard about this.
And Matt Damon is still in talks to return, so it might be a bit of a legacy sequel again, or might be a reboot, reimagining of Jason Bourne.
Okay.
We'll see.
I imagine it'll be a legacy sequel.
Yeah.
Those are so popular nowadays.
Didn't they already do a Jason Bourne legacy sequel that was just called Jason Bourne?
I've never seen any of those movies, so I have no idea.
Yeah,
frankly, I'm gonna be honest. I wouldn't have been able to tell you Matt Damon was the main character.
Really?
Yep. I don't know nothing about those movies.
Okay.
But sure, we just need more IP to keep trying.
Yeah,
this
I
is
guess
another
so.
one to try.
One of the most controversial stories of the month was, of course, that Melissa Barrera and Jen Ortega have left Scream 7. The obvious implication there being Melissa Barrera was fired from the film, her contract was terminated, and then there's some discussion about whether Jen Ortega was ever going to be in Scream 7 with her busy schedule, or if she, sort of is standing in solidarity with Melissa Barrera in leaving the film.
Yeah.
In any case, this has reportedly caused, a full reboot a full rewrite of that script and a full reboot of the franchise again.
This is crazy.
Yeah,
because they will probably make a Scream 7. I think that the controversy around this will really change things up, and also it just kills any goodwill that this new series of films has had. And people like Scream 5 and 6. I think they're both good movies. Mm-hmm. And the best part about them was that we have two main actresses that are playing interesting characters, and I want to see what they do next. Not going to happen.
Not going to happen.
I want to see what happens.
Apparently,
we can't.
Apparently, they might be bringing Nev Campbell back now, crawling back to her after she wasn't in Scream 6 because they didn't want to give her more money.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It seems like a real mess over there at Spyglass.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Okay. Robert Eggers, speaking of horror films, Robert Eggers, his Nosferatu sort of remake or reimagining has been dated for Christmas 2025.
Perfect.
The same day as Jordan Peele's new film as well. That's going to be a big day. That's an exciting day. Sebastian Stan has been cast as everyone's favorite, Donald Trump, in an upcoming film called The Apprentice.
Is this like a Trump biopic? Or is it like a... Okay, all right. Yeah. That's going to be a big deal.
Like an early Trump biopic, I think, too. Like, about his early life.
Yeah, I don't know if Sebastian Stan could play President Trump era President Trump.
I don't know. I know, Tucker, the book's not quite closed on him, I would say.
Oh, sure, that's true.
And as the actor strike ended, we have some films getting back into production. Hollywood is going back to work, Tucker. We're making Minecraft. We're making Venom 3 again. We're making Gladiator 2. We're making Deadpool 3. Clint Eastwood is making Juror number 2.
I haven't even heard of that.
Yeah, it's his new movie. Apparently it's done with production, and he said it should be expected early next year.
Okay, Clint.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah. And Last of Us Season 2 also beginning production come January, I believe.
Sure. Yeah. This tracks. We've been getting some small bits of news for each of these. And we've got a picture of Tom Hardy, excited to be back on set. A little bit of casting information for Minecraft, some Deadpool 3 stuff, but nothing big yet. And of course, those will be covered in future headlines.
Yes. Tucker, if November was a busy month, December might kill us in terms of new releases.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see.
Well, Tucker, there are some films I don't have on here as well because they just didn't fit.
We've got December 2023 releases here. Silent Night, Godzilla Minus One, and Renaissance, a film by Beyonce. All have already released and have been seen by him. I've seen a couple of those. We've got The Boy and the Heron next week.
Yep.
May, December, not on here, but that is out now as well.
Yep, that's on Netflix. Let's see. Poor Things also enters a limited release this week and then wide release on December 22nd. Let's see. Wonka is December 15th. Maestro is December 20th. Aquaman is December 22nd. Anyone But You is December 22nd. The Iron Claw is December 22nd. Migration is December 22nd. American Fiction is December 22nd.
And then Ferrari's
the 25th. Color Purple is the 25th. Let's see what else do I want. All of Us Strangers comes out on December 22nd. Rebel Moon comes out on Netflix on December 22nd.
Yeah. Okay. Never mind. Yeah, this is gonna kill us.
Yeah. The Zone of Interest, an awards film, limited release on December 15th. Chicken Run sequel,
Dawn of the Nugget.
December 15th on Netflix.
Okay. Yeah. All right. I was wrong. I don't know. I looked at this. I'm like, that's fine. I can take that. Yeah. Once you add like another 7 movies on this, oh no. But I'm excited for a really good chunk of these.
They all, I think, are either exciting or intriguing.
Yeah. I mean, what's Migration going to be about?
Ducks à l'orange.
Oh God. Tanner.
Yeah.
We have our predictions.
Yeah.
For the top 5 for December.
Let me pull my phone again. I gotta get my numbers. I gotta get my numbers
up.
It
looks as if you have just copied my list.
I did. I really wanted to have something different, but just thinking about it, I'm like, I don't know if in good faith I can do something different.
And of course, it's fine if we have the same thing.
Yeah.
We've done it before.
We've done it plenty of times.
I just thought it was funny because I had mine on before that.
Yeah,
And then I opened up the site. I'm like,
oh,
this bastard copied my top 5.
Yeah. So we have Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom up the top there. I'm saying, Tucker, $48 million.
Okay.
December 22nd, also, unlike November 22nd of this month, that is a Friday, so that's only a 3-day.
Sure.
We're not doing a Christmas for that. Wonka, I'm saying 35. Migration, I'm going to say 30.
Okay.
Renaissance, I'm going to say 25.
Yeah.
And then,
that is this weekend.
Yeah.
But we don't know this.
We don't know yet. And The Color Purple, I'm going to go 18.
Ooh, okay. I feel like that's probably kind of high for The Color Purple.
That's fair.
I honestly don't know what the appeal of this movie is going to be, but it's certainly exciting to see the other movies that might be successful financially.
I have a number 6 here. I really wanted to put this one in just to be different, but in doing some research, I just don't think I can. The Boy and the Heron.
Sure.
Being released by G Kids, in doing some research, apparently, they said going to be their widest release that they've ever done in the U.S. Their previous film, or their previous big film, I guess I should say, was Suzume, which made $8 million opening weekend, and I don't remember the final total for this, but I'll pull it up here. But I was like, Hayao Miyazaki, add some screens for Boy and the Heron. I just don't know. And I was like, it probably can't do more than what I think Color Purple will. Yeah, it made $10 million domestic.
Yeah. And a domestic opening of $5 million.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
So you're probably right that.
In Tucker, if I may do a 6 prediction, I'm gonna say like $10 million for The Boy and the Heron opening weekend.
Well, we will be back to see. I guess we can't see which one of us is right because we have the exact same fucking thing. So
yeah.
Regardless, we're already tied.
Yeah.
Good work.
We did it.
But that is a busy November covered. 10 whole movies talked about, plus some bonus, retrospectives and bar graphs and pie charts and all that. And a little bit of extra work went in this month, but December's equally busy, if not busier.
Yeah.
And also, it's the end of the year. And
we got to do an end of year wrap up.
End of the year stuff is coming, and then we're straight into award season. So busy year continues to only be busy. But thank you very much for watching, everyone, and we will see you then for other videos. All right. And I know it's tough, but you got to stop doing this.
Oh, sure.
You were doing it a lot. What were we fucking talking about the other day? Fucking Silent Night. You were like,
I see.
John Woo. And I don't know how bad it was in the video, but I was just like, so they're like, he keeps hitting the table.
Okay, hang on. I'll try to. Maybe
I'll get like a pillow right here.
Oh yeah, that's good. I love the idea of having to cushion the table because I gesture too much with my hands. All right.
We get like I don't know if packing peanuts, but like the bubble pop little bubble thing.
What if we tied some ropes to the ceiling and just put them around my wrists and just above the table?
Like little bungee cords?
Yeah.
Because then every time you try to do that, it like comes back and hits you in the face.
All right. I just got black eyes and all the BLB videos from now on.
And you look like you're Pinocchio. Holy shit.
Okay. Here we go.